Welcome to the Off 199 podcast. We are your co-hosts, Jay,
Music Nerd,
and Dap.
We're just a few Miami boys who love talking about South Florida sports and want to bring it to you. So, without further ado,
Off 199 starts now.
Hey, what's going on, Off 199 fans? It's your boy, Music Nerd, and I am back with my usual co-host, Jay.
Yo, what's up?
And today it's just going to be him and I. We're just going to do the Dolphins NFL preview. So, it's the most magical time of the year, everybody. Football is back. So, today we're fully back. We had college football the last couple of days. Watched Colorado last night, which was really impressive to see Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, but cannot wait for the monster game tomorrow, Florida versus Miami. So we will see. But we're going to get right into it. Dolphins preview. So Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, all got paid. We got OBJ in the receiving room, but he is dealing with an injury, so a season start is going to be in question. So right now we're going to start off with the offensive preview. Have you also got Mostert, a chain, and Wright in the running back room, speed, and more speed. The O-line does remain a question mark. So all that being said, what do you think we can expect from this offense, this explosive offense that we've seen in the past couple of years? What do you think, Jay?
I expect more of the same. I expect it to be the most explosive offense in the NFL, just like last year. I don't expect a drop off. We were able to scheme around the deficiencies of our offensive line last year. We had injuries on the offensive line, but we were still able to be prolific during that year. Now, after the Tennessee game and with Connor Williams going down, we were less prolific than we were because he was so important. But now that he's gone and we have try to get more, synergy on the offensive line, I'm hoping that we can keep it up the whole year and not have any injuries. Hopefully they fix the injuries in late season. But it's football. You can't really prepare or predict for that. So just hoping that we can keep that up.
I mean, I think that's a good point. The main thing for me, I think we got to find a way to run the ball more. I'm hoping that
comes down to injury. That comes down to health, right?
I think that's part of it too, but also I think there's part of it is that McDaniel had a tendency to get away from the run, even when it was working too, as well. But those last 4 games, I think you couldn't really run the ball because the offensive line didn't have that synergy, like you were saying. Connor Williams going down was a big injury. I think it was bigger than Chubb going down, really. Yeah. Chubb and Phillips, because you just saw the offense just wasn't the same after that Tennessee game, and really during the Tennessee game. If you're up by 2 touchdowns in the middle of the 4th quarter and you're number 1 seed, you should win that game, especially when you're at home. I think we talked about it last year on this podcast. I think that game is the reason why Miami didn't win a playoff game. You go from playing in 75, 80-degree weather at home to playing in one of the coldest games ever, and in Arrowhead Stadium, and you kind of get blown out. I think that Miami probably would have won at home against an inferior opponent. But hindsight's 2020. And for me, I think my main thing, I do expect the explosion still. Tua and Waddle aren't going anywhere. Mostert and Achane and Wright, and I really was impressed with Wright during the preseason. I think the speed is going to be there. I am concerned about OBJ. Missing them first 4 games, but
really thin out receiver right now.
Yeah, but him being eased in, I'm more like that. I think that's probably best. He didn't play a lot for Baltimore last year, but he was able to make a difference down the stretch, and really that's all I care for. I'm not really one to care for the first 4 games with this team. I've gotten to the point where I want to care about the last 4 games of it. And when you look at the Dolphins schedule, it does get more difficult as it goes on, just like last year. So if they're able to find synergy and get to that point where they're firing on all cylinders when it comes to November, December, then, I'm looking forward to that. So anything else to add about the offense?
I'm really proud of Tua. I'm going to see this newfound confidence, how that translates to the field. I want to see every year that we've had Tua, there's been year to year growth. I want to see him take the next step. What the next step looks like, I don't know, because leading the league in passing, maybe more touchdowns. Maybe that's the next step. Lead the league in touchdowns. Maybe that's the next step. But I just want to see year to year growth from Tua. I think that's what another thing I'm looking forward to.
Well, I think that's an interesting question. Like, what does the next step look like for Tua? Is it, like you said, more touchdowns? Is it less interceptions? Is it
Mhm.
pushing it down? I think there's always going to be detractors, people who dislike Tua. There's always going to be people who always ride for Tua. I mean, the simple fact for us is that he wins. So, I mean, he goes out there, he has a winning record. He's probably been Miami's best quarterback since Dan Marino, and I really don't think it's been close, if we're being honest, when it comes down to it. So, I think when it comes down to it, yes, he's done a good job of like taking that next step. So, that next step, what does that look like for him? So, is it winning a playoff game? Is it leading this team to a conference championship game? The AFC East has never been weaker. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So this Dolphins team is definitely the most talented team in the AFC East. So it's taking the next step for him, winning this division, getting a home playoff game, and taking that next. Is that the next step?
Have you seen the odds for the AFC East title this year?
No, I
So
think isn't Buffalo still the lead with that?
no, the Jets are, then Buffalo, then Miami. The
Look,
disrespect is crazy, bro.
this spec is great, but the thing is, I feel like Miami is going to thrive more on that, in my opinion. And
For,
look, people are going to ride Aaron Rodgers is going to ride, but the thing is, there are a lot of reports coming out there that the vibe around there is like absolutely horrible. But
for the
let's be
Jets.
real, for the Jets, that's kind of what some of the reports I'm seeing on Bleacher Report. The vibe around there is terrible. Last year was not, of course, it was not a success because you lose your best player four plays into your season. There's one thing there, but also, I mean, I have to agree with you. I feel like the Jets are going to jet. I feel like they have an amazing defense, but as great as Aaron Rodgers has been in his career, he's coming off an Achilles injury heading into his age 38 season, if I'm not mistaken. That's hard. That's going to be hard to do. So for me, the Jets going to have to prove it. And so I think we'll go more in depth with that a little bit later. But the odds are going to be crazy. I feel like a lot of people are going to track the Dolphins because of what happened last year. But thing is, like I kind of agree with Lewis Riddick. I think like if Connor Williams didn't get hurt, one, I think they win that Titans game. And two, I think it would not have been as bad down the stretch. I feel because I think like Miami would have been able to run the ball a lot better. So and even though even so, really what ended up happening, Miami lost their last three games to probably the top three seeds in the AFC. So really, in the grand scheme of things, that's how it gets. It's like it's hard. Now I know that's frustrating as a fan because it's frustrating for me. But when it comes down to it, when you lose to teams that are better than you, that's kind of how it's going to happen, especially when you're injured. And Miami was missing 4 or 5 of his best players down the stretch. So the main thing too is like you said, Miami's got to stay healthy. So we got to see what that looks like. So all right, moving on to the defense because speaking of health, all right. So as far as back end, you got Ramsey and Holland back with veteran presences and Kendall Fuller and Jordan Poyer joining the secondary. But the thing is, for us, has the trenches been addressed enough? Because the defense can be special, but it's going to start the season without Phillips and Chubb. Chubb is going to be on the IR. Phillips is not on the IR to start the season, which I think is amazing.
He's
So,
fighting
but
for week
he's
one.
fighting for it. But I think the smart thing would be to rest him as much as possible. But he is going to be at least limited to start the season. So when it comes down to it, what is really the ceiling for this defense, having lost a lot of talent off of it, but gained a lot of talent as well for it. So thing is also when it came down to numbers, this team was the 10th ranked defense last year and really caused a lot of havoc. So what does it look like without his two best pass rushers to start the season and without Wilkins being on an interior line?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm very nervous about our defense. I don't think we're nearly as good as we were last year. Um, Losing Wilkins is a big blow in my opinion. Cause that is the heart and soul of your whole team you lost. And I feel like people are kind of like downplaying it. I don't understand like people saying like even you saying we gained talent. I feel like we lost more talent than we gained. Like we probably gained more veteran leadership, but I don't know about gaining more talent. I feel like Christian Williams was a big part of success for the past 3 years, 4 years. And we're gonna really miss him. But
Well, Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I agree with you. He was the best tackling defensive tackle in the league, bar none. I know people were concerned with his pass rushing ability. I wasn't, and then he kind of proved it last year, having his best pass rushing season. Him and Sealer, I think, were a perfect team. One, because they were best friends off the field, but two, they complemented each other so well. I think some of the things that Sealer doesn't do well, I think Christian Wilkins does, and some of the things that Christian Wilkins didn't do well, Sealer did. So I mean, I agreed with paying Sealer. I did want Miami to find a way to pay Christian Wilkins, but one thing I've said on this podcast several times before over the last couple of years, this is an expensive team, and you're going to have to pick and choose. And you and I talked about this when it came to it. We lost Van Ginkel, we lost Wilkins, we lost a few other people when it came to it, and it was going to be things like that. Now I think Miami has gained a few like really solid tackling. Like they've gained really solid players, like you said, good veteran leadership players. You are right, and I didn't mean to say like we gained more talent than we lost because that's just not true. We did, and we lost more talent than we gained. But I'm thinking that the veteran leadership will be able to like really ground that. And that's what I'm hoping. What I'm hoping also really I really want to see what the defense looks like with a full healthy season from Jalen Ramsey, a full healthy season from Javon Holland, because those are two all-pro talents, really. Kendall Fuller did not have a good year last year in Washington, but then again, no one on that Washington defense had a good year last year. That scheme was terrible. It was just not. It really wasn't conducive to it. I think Kendall Fuller can be a lot better and steps into that Xavier Howard role that we need here. And even if he's just as good as Xavier Howard was last year, I think Miami will be fine. Really, my main concern is the defensive line. The linebackers are okay, but you just need really one thing you need is health. And yeah, I'm concerned, especially without Chubb to start the season. But like I said with the OBJ thing, I'd rather have him to end the season at the beginning. So I think like losing him in that Baltimore game, I think it was more demoralizing than anything else for that defense and for that team. Even though I think they went out and they played a really good game against Buffalo, I think Wilkins had a big role in that because of his leadership. And losing him, I think that was always going to be the biggest part. Losing him, it wasn't going to be about the money for me, because one, I'm not the one who pays the bills for the Dolphins. It's always going to be about his leadership and what he brought to that team. He was the fun guy. He brought the levity, and he brought production. No matter what you want to say about it, I know a lot of people want to play it down and stuff like that. In my opinion, he was a top 5 DT in the league, and he has been for the last three or so years. And losing that is going to be huge. So it's like for us is we need Sealer to really step up into that, but that's going to be hard. But the defense also is going to have a new look with a new defense coordinator. Hopefully some of the issues that they had with Fangio can at least go away. Maybe that leads into a better overall defensive unit. But we're going to have to see because I don't see them being able to create as much havoc as they did last year. But if they're able to even create as half as much, and maybe if they're better on the back end, they can get more turnovers. Because this type of defense is got to be able to create turnovers for them to be successful.
And they haven't really created a lot of turnovers for the past couple of years, and that needs to change this year.
Mm-hmm. Saying you got one of the best ball hawking quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, in my opinion, Jalen Ramsey, and then you have a all-pro safety back there in Holland. You got to be able to. This team's going to have to create at least 25 turnovers for them to be successful, in my opinion. And they created 15 last year, something like that. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. So we say all that to say, is there anything to add about the Dolphins defense?
I want to see I guess our depth at cornerback, Ken Smith, Cater Kohu. I want to see them take a step. Apparently, I guess Vic Fangio wasn't very friendly to they didn't want to play it. I feel like our corners suffered the most when it came to Vic Fangio. So I want to see how they take the step. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean that's what
secondary in the whole.
The secondary as a whole, yeah, I think that was really what it was. I think Fangio had a tendency not to adjust. I feel like that Bills game, keeping Kader Kohu on Stephon Diggs was just a huge mistake. It was a big mistake, and I don't care. Look, I don't care how long you've been in the league and stuff like that. things need to you need to adjust. Things need to change. Kader Kohu should not have been on Stephon Diggs in that game, especially after the first touchdown. That's enough. But I think this defense is going to be more tailor-made towards the players, making it easier for them. So I don't think Vic Fangio is a bad coach. I just don't think Vic Fangio was the right coach for this defense. So I think we'll see, because you never know. But we'll see. I think we'll see just as soon as the first game comes off if this coach is the right one for this defense. So, all right. That being said, we're gonna get into some of the predictions for the Dolphins. So, what is the Dolphins' ceiling? What's the Dolphins' floor? Can it get over the hump and win the AFC East, in your opinion? And can we win a playoff game this year? So, start off with the ceiling.
Ceiling. Hold on, give me 1 second. I want to bring up the schedule one more time. 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 12, 7-1, 8-1, 9-1, 10-1, 10-2, 11-3, 11-2, 11-2, 11-3, 12-3, 13-3. I think the ceiling is 13-3.
You mean 14-3? They play 17 games.
Yeah, I guess 14-3.
All right.
Yeah, 14-3. Honestly speaking, the floor is kind of I'm thinking 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like there's a future where we don't make playoffs though.
I agree with that. I think this is a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think they can get over the hump? Do you think they can win the AFC East this year?
Yes, the schedule does favor them where we're not. Well, I guess the Jets, but we're not like you know what? Because last 2 games are in cold places.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see on that Sunday night in Cleveland. But other than that, we don't really have a lot of cold games to go. We play the Packers on Thanksgiving night.
Think so. Yep. Week 13.
In
At Green Bay.
Okay.
That'll be a tough one.
Yeah, it'll be tough. But no, I do feel like we have a better schedule than last year when it comes to. No, we don't. We
No,
just gotta we have like what 1, 2, 6 games, 5 games on December and January.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta finish, but those are winnable games. The only loss I see there is the 49ers on in December, which probably will be a very big game. Might be flexed to Sunday night, but it's at home, so maybe we can get that one. But this team can be good. It's just I'm really hesitant about the defense.
Right. I agree with that. I have similar sentiments to it. I do think the ceiling is about 14 wins. I think the floor is about 9 or 10. I think what they end up with is about 11 or 12. And I do think they end up winning the AFC East because I think the Bills are going to take a step back. And I don't trust the Jets, and I will never trust the Jets. And the Patriots are.
I called it last year, and hey, everybody thought they were going to be something, but hey, the Jets are going to check.
So I mean, the Jets still going to have a great defense. I feel, but
the thing is, I don't care if your quarterback goes down and you still have that much of a drop off. That means y'all weren't going to be good anyways, in my opinion. But this is me.
Yeah, I mean that's true. But I mean, I guess when you look at it historically, like the only team I think that lost a quarterback like that early and was able to still field a winnable team is what the 2008 Patriots, who was able to win 11 games without Tom Brady. But
yeah,
they still didn't make the playoffs,
right?
though. No, they didn't make the playoffs. They were 11-win team and didn't make the playoffs. It's wild. The AFC used to be crazy today. There are a couple of Dolphins teams that won 10 games and didn't make the playoffs. That's how the AFC used to be back in the day.
Mm.
So I mean, I agree with you. Ceiling here is about 14 wins. This floor, I think the floor is even a bit higher. People think I'm much higher on this Dolphins team than other people are. I feel. I think that if they're able to get some home playoff games, if they're able to get some a home trajectory, they're able to get them wins. And I There are a couple people who are saying, "Hey, look, Miami can be a sneaky Super Bowl contender." I'm not going to say that yet, but I think that the thing is too, the window for this team is not as large as I would like it to be. I think Miami has about maybe the next 2-3 years to contend, so they're going to have to break through. I'm not sure if this is the year that they do, but I do think that the AFC East has never been more vulnerable than it is right now, in my opinion. So I think if they're going to break through, it's got to be a year like this. So I think the ceiling for this team is AFC Championship game. I think the floor is making the playoffs and losing in the first round again. That's what I think. As far as what I think for my prediction, I think that Miami does win a playoff game. I do think Miami gets to the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, but I think it's because I think Baltimore and the Chiefs are going to play each other in the divisional. I think Miami's going to get lucky that way, but we'll see when it comes to it. But that is my prediction for that. So let's break it down. Let's move on from the Dolphins prediction and break down the AFC as the whole. So Chiefs, do we have them repeating for a third year, or can the Ravens kind of step forward with Derrick Henry? The Bengals may have some internal issues, but they still have offensive talent to make some serious noise. And when I say internal issues, Jamar Chase is still holding out. And there's also the issue of T. Higgins, and I feel like that has not been addressed. And honestly, since T. Higgins' issues come up, the Bengals have not been the same, in my opinion. But there's that. Texans are up and coming when it comes to the NFC South. They had a great year last year, but are we worried about a sophomore slump for both the coach D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud?
Yeah.
I mean, or is there?
Going. I have thoughts about that. Yeah, keep going.
So I mean, we'll get into that. Or is there really another dark horse that we're not even thinking about when it comes to the AFC? Or can the Dolphins pull it through, like I said, and break through? So I guess we'll start off with the AFC West. Do you see the Chiefs repeating there, or
yeah, they repeat it. I feel like they've gotten better. Their offense has gotten way better. The defense they probably will lose a step because I think they lost their number one corner, right?
Yeah, they lost Snead.
Yeah, they lost Snead, and he was really good. I feel like he was like the linchpin in the defense. But they still have Chris Jones.
Really underrated. He was I think he was a top 5 corner last year.
Yeah, but they still have Chris Jones, who's the heart of that defense, and they'll still be good. Probably even better because now Mahomes got some speed on the outside. If they can catch the ball, who knows? But still, Mahomes has made it work these past couple of years, so they're probably my favorite. Looking at it, as a football
fan, I really love that Xavier Worthy pick for the Chiefs. I thought it was perfect, giving him that speed again. I know that they let go of what's his name, that Florida receiver, Kadarius Toney. But I mean, honestly, you got Xavier Worthy. You really don't need him, and I know they've won the last 2 championships as well. I think, if they're able to catch the ball a little bit better, this offense is going to be right back to being a top 5 offense. I do think the defense does take a step back, like you said, but I think they're going to be able to outscore people again, which is just scary. They're really thinking that the offense really wasn't the best that it was last year, yet they were still able to win another Super Bowl championship. I just don't think anyone in the AFC West has enough to challenge them. I like what the Raiders are doing internally. I think Santonio Pierce is the right coach. I don't think Devontae Adams is the season in the Raider jersey, really. That's what it comes down to. The Broncos are the Broncos. They're really rebuilding. When you start a rookie quarterback, that's what's going on with you. That's your lane.
I do feel like
Chargers. Go ahead.
I do feel like this rest of the division is kind of like equal.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they've gotten better this offseason, especially the Raiders. I expect for them the Broncos to be better. But right now I feel like with Harbaugh coming in and his first season back, it's gonna be a little bit of grind, but I think everybody's gonna be like very equal. Maybe like 7-9 for everybody in that division.
Well, I do think that Harbaugh is going to make it interesting because I do think Harbaugh knows how to win NFL games because he had a similar roster with the 49ers. Yeah. So I think there's I think there's a way that he can make that work, but the Chargers, there's a lot of all-pro talent on that defense, a lot of all-pro talent on that offense, but I think losing Keenan Allen is going to be a lot bigger blow than I think people are going to realize. So that's my concern with them. So yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a lot of
Mike Williams too, right?
No, Mike Williams is there. He actually just got cleared to play. He's going to play week 1 too. So I mean, but like Quentin Williams, they drafted Quentin Williams. He did not have a good rookie season last
Yeah,
year.
no, he
He
was
needs
dropping
to
a lot
step
of
up.
balls.
He dropped a lot of balls, so he has to step up. If he cuts his drops in half, their offense looks a lot better. But I don't know. There's still a lot of concerns, in my opinion, about them. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. But yeah, I have the Chiefs going along with that. So then, of course, you get to the AFC North. You had the first division in NFL history to have all teams have a winning record last year. The Bengals took a step back, but still were 9-8. Steelers made the playoffs at 10-7. The Browns made the playoffs at I think 11-6, and of course, the number one seed was the Ravens. So, who do you have winning the AFC North? Do you think the Ravens can take that step forward, or do you think they're going to just beat each other up again? Because that's what it looks like.
I'm never gonna say the Ravens are not gonna win that division as long as Lamar is in that division.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Lamar Jackson is the linchpin. I think he's the difference, and I really think people need to start giving him a lot more credit than they have.
Yeah, and
So,
he's probably gonna be like a Brady in that division for a long time. But man, you just looking at the AFC, man. Like every team in the AFC has improved. It's gonna be hard to find what is it, 7 teams, 7 playoff teams in this. It
yeah,
really is. Um, man, I'm gonna have to go on a limb and say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are probably gonna finish last out this. No, I think it's hard for me to bet against the Browns because their defense is so good.
mm-hmm.
I think the Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers swap,
So you
where the
think
Pittsburgh is going
the
9-8.
Bengals are third and the Steelers are fourth?
Yeah, and the Bengals get in and the Steelers don't, which will be crazy. I just
Wow.
I don't believe in Russell anymore.
Well, yeah. It's hard after what happened with the Broncos. It's really hard to have that faith in him, in my
He had
opinion.
weapons.
Yeah, there were weapons there. I mean, I don't think Nathaniel Hackett had the best offensive playbook, if that makes sense for it. And also, Sean Payton, I think, went in with too much arrogance last year. But I agree, there were a lot of weapons, and I think Russell Wilson didn't have a bad season last year, but it got mired in all this other things, when it comes down to. So I have to agree with you. One thing I will say, when it comes to the AFC North, that is still stacked. I mean, I believe in Joe Burrow. I really do. But I mean, like you said, Lamar Jackson's going to be, I think Lamar Jackson's the class of that division. Now, I'll say this. If Deshaun Watson is able to take a step forward, that's going to be very interesting for that Browns team because that defense is so good. So that's one thing. That's one thing I'm looking at. So
Probably the
when it
best
comes to,
defense in the AFC.
in my opinion, yeah, I have to agree with you on that. The stack top to bottom. But Chubb will not start. I know, tell you this, Chubb will start the season on IR, so that's another concern they have. But if Chubb comes back even at 90%, 85% during that season,
75% would be fine.
yeah, the Browns will be a sneakily good team, I think. So, which is crazy for me to say. So, when it comes to the AFC South, you said you had opinions on the Texans. So, because they're the ones that took that division last year, even though it should have been the Jaguars. So, what is your opinions about the Texans when it comes down to it?
I feel like the media and the country is giving CJ Stroud a lot of credit, and like they even put him in top 5 conversations of quarterbacks, and I get it. He had a great rookie season. But when we gonna stop crowning people for just one good NFL season, man? Like he has to put in the work to give me even him and Jordan Love. Like for Jordan Love to get paid like that after just one season is crazy to me. Like I don't I feel like Tua deserved his contract because he put in. You see the year-over-year growth. So there's
Right,
no evidence that he downgrades. Yeah,
right,
there's no evidence to support that. But I'm gonna leave Jordan Love where he is, but like that's what Stroud, you don't know how he adjusts to defense going forward into this year 2. Now you have a whole summer to look at film against CJ Stroud and what he likes to do. Tell me, then see if he can still do the same thing. Well, honestly, he was 10-7 last year. Like he wasn't that good to be like top 5 QB. But that's just me, and I'm not being a hater. It's just I just feel like they're giving him way too much credit.
Okay. Well,
That team way too much credit.
Well, I think that's interesting. I think that's an interesting take on it when it comes to it.
And
I
for
think
anybody
that
in the comments talking about, watch the film or whatever, like I said, it's 1 year.
so. I mean, I watch a lot of Texas games because I live in Austin, so you get a lot of Houston games. So I think that he was a lot sharper than I thought he would be, especially being Ohio State quarterbacks, which I don't believe in. I don't believe in Ohio State quarterbacks. The last two have been good.
Fair.
It seems Justin Fields and CJ Stroud. What's interesting to me, I think that he actually had a lot more talent than I think people thought. Noah Brown had a
They just
sneakily
released
good
him, by the
year.
way.
Say what?
They just released him, by the way, I believe, right?
Yeah, I know. I think he ended up somewhere else. I had on fantasy the oh god, I can't even think of his name right now. Number 12,
Nico
uh,
Collins.
Nico Collins
I
had a
had him.
great
I
year.
thought I had him.
No, I had multiple leagues,
Oh,
so I had him in one of my leagues, and he killed it really for me. Nico Collins was great. Then they had the other rookie who broke his leg,
I think
Tank Dell. Yeah. And and also running the ball, they had Damian Pierce. They had a couple other people, which Damian Pierce, I don't think he made the roster. I don't think, but
I don't know.
I think they said. But I mean, they had an explosive game. But really, what it came down to, I think that Houston did a good job with situational. They won a lot. They won a lot of games that usually young teams don't win last year. There was that Bucks game, that weird Bucks game that they had. But there are games that I think that they should have won and they didn't. That Browns game, like Amari Cooper just killed them during the regular season, but they kind of made up for it by beating them in the playoffs. But I think there's when you have that much success in your first year, you kind of you kind of hit 100 and everything like that. Everything kind of has a regression to the mean. So for me, I do think the Texans take a step back because of that. I mean, I do think they're going in the right direction. I think the Texans are going to be a team that's going to be reckoned with. And so I think CJ Stroud is going to have to. He's going to have to want that hunger. He's going to have to want to put that work in. I think he does. I think he sees that, but I do think he takes a step back this year because I think, like you said, they're gonna have a whole summer to look at the tape and look at some of the things that he does that didn't do well. I think he had an amazing rookie season. He did, but that just kind of gives you everyone adjusts. There's always an adjustment period, so you have to adjust back. So people will adjust to him. Especially with Tank Dell not starting the season because he will be hurt. That does take one weapon away from them. Adding Stephon Diggs, that is a good security blanket. That gives you another 100 catches, I feel like, on that team. But there's only one ball, and there's a lot of there's a lot of mouths to feed on that team right now. So that's going to be interesting as well. But also, I think the Jaguars are going to take a step forward. Uh, I think that that's going to be interesting to look at. Trevor Lawrence got paid, so he's kind of now a little bit more of a proven year. I mean, it is what it is. When it comes down to it, you want to pay someone like Trevor Lawrence before the market gets up. Because the fact of the matter is, for the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence is their
that's
franchise
fair.
quarterback.
That point, I agree with that point.
Yeah,
You
they're
want to
his
pay him
franchise
now
quarterback.
instead of next year where the market might explode. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so I think you have to pay him now because one, I don't think the Jaguars have seen what they've wanted to see from him, but at the very least, he's won a playoff game. But it is what it is. But I think that is your quarterback now. They just kind of imploded, just like the Titans imploded the year before. So it's going to be, I think, it's interesting again. I think it's going to have, there's going to be something similar happening in this AFC South again. I think the Texans are going to kind of go out at first and kind of lead from the front and then implode
I feel like
again.
this. I feel like this division is up for grabs. Anybody can get it.
Anybody can get it. You're right. I really do. And I think the winner of this division is a 10-win, 9-win team. So, which is going to be crazy because probably anybody at AFC North could win this division if they were in it. So,
yeah.
But is what it is. And so when we come down to AFC East, we've already really talked about that. We both think the Dolphins are going to win. Do you think that the Bills are going to make the playoffs here in the AFC East? We're not even going to talk about the Patriots. The Patriots are rebuilding. Thank God.
I think this will be a down year for the Bills.
I agree.
I think Stephon Diggs won them a lot of games that he was a lot more important than I guess they're making him out to be. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say the Dolphins are the only team in this division that makes the playoffs this year.
All right, that's a big. Hey, that is a big prediction.
I feel like the Patriots are probably the worst team in the conference right now. Might be the worst team in the league. The Jets are gonna jet.
Yep.
The Bills will get close, but I'm predicting a 9-8 season, missing the playoffs.
I won't predict they'll miss the playoffs right now. I will say that the Bills will be the 7th seed. I think the Dolphins will be the 3rd and the 2nd seed. I think the Chiefs are going to be number 1 seed. So I think that.
But this is honestly, this is the worst division in the AFC right now.
Oh yeah, the AFC East, yeah, it is, and that's crazy because a couple of years ago it was the best, but yeah, now it has regressed. I think it's switched a bit with the AFC South. That being said, I do think that the AFC South is going to have the lowest amount of wins to win it, but it's going to be more balanced. But yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one because I really think there's only going to be one team from the AFC South to win too. So, and I right now only kind of see one team going from the AFC West. So for me, I think the AFC North is obvious that they're the class of it, but I think that the Bills are going to be able to beat out who's ever second in the AFC South or the AFC West. That's my thought process right now when it comes to that. So I'll say the Bills make it, but we'll move on from that. Who do you think wins the AFC? If you had to give a prediction right now,
because
I mean, for me, it's the Chiefs. I want to say the Dolphins, but
no, I don't.
It's the Chiefs to lose. It's the Chiefs to lose, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the Chiefs to lose. You know what? I will say the Ravens.
Ravens? You think the Ravens go over the hump
Lamar
this year?
gets over the hump this year, gets to the Super Bowl.
Do you think that Derrick Henry is going to be the difference with that?
I didn't even think of that. And I still think the Ravens. Yeah, he probably will be the difference. Yeah,
I think that his ability to gain yards, I think, is going to be a huge difference for their offense. Because let's be honest, is he hasn't had this caliber of running back. That's a Hall of Fame running back in the backfield.
I think because of Derrick Henry, that's given license to Lamar to lose that weight and be more explosive because he's not going to be required to run at the ball that much. Not required to run it that physically yet that he's been doing it the last couple of years either. So, I hope he just gets down and gets out of bounds. But it's gonna be. I think this running attack is probably gonna get a lot more explosive.
Which is crazy, being as it's the Baltimore Ravens, so they have historic number 1 running offenses in the last 4 or 5 years. But you add a 2,000-yard capable rushing running back to that, it's going to be wild with Baltimore this year. So I still think it's the Chiefs to lose, but yeah, Baltimore is crazy. I'll say that. So, but I think let me put it like this. For the Dolphins to make it to the AFC Championship game, the Dolphins are going to have to be the number 1 seed. That's going to be really difficult for them to be.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to that. We'll go to the NFC. All right, so the NFC. The 49ers are always going to be the 49ers, it seems. But how will they respond to another super disappointment? The Lions are here, and it looks like they're here to stay. So when it comes to the NFC North, but Jordan Love got paid at the NFC North. The Vikings are going to Viking, but we'll see what happens really with that. The Eagles, the Cowboys, all disappointed last year, but will they be able to bounce back when it comes to the NFC East? And when it comes to the NFC West, the NFC South, it's a mess still, but if someone has to win it, and someone has been the Bucks for the last few years. So do they repeat for the 4th time in a row? Does somebody else come out of that division? And so, Packers seem to have found their quarterback of the future, but can they make noise losing what they've lost on the offensive side as well? So we'll start off with the NFC West with the reigning NFC champions, 49ers. What do you think? What do you see happening in that division?
I see more of the same. It's probably Kyler Murray comes back, so it's probably going to be a lot more even than it was before. But still see the 49ers win that division. Still see the Rams get into the playoffs. Still see the Seattle underachieving. just Arizona's probably going to be better. That's it.
I do think Arizona takes a step forward. They're competitive, and I think they're going to be able to win some games in that division. But yeah, I think it's a bit more of the same. Ayuk just got his deal, 4 years, $120 million. What do you think about that? As a side,
He deserved it. I wish he would have went to Cleveland.
really?
But yeah, I would have loved to see that. Him and
What do you
Cooper.
think? So you think we in that deal? You think Cooper comes back to 49ers? Comes back to the
Oh,
Bay?
that's another thing. I just did not. It just clicked in my mind. Like Cooper would have went the other way. No, I don't think that works. Yeah,
I
I don't think
mean,
that works.
I think Cooper is adaptable, in my opinion. I
Yeah,
think he's
but
just underrated. I think he's been a consistently really top 10 wide receiver for his whole career.
yeah.
So,
Yes,
I mean, and plus he had that crazy game against Texas last year, which I kind of alluded to. But Cooper, but also there's the rumor that he's not really happy in Cleveland, but who knows really what's going on there. But I think he'll be fine with Deshaun Watson is healthy. So we'll see about that. But going on to the 49ers, I mean, you got Christian McCaffrey, you got Debo Samuel, you got Brandon Ayuk, you got George Kittle. I mean, you got a plethora of weapons there, and they really believe in Brock Purdy. So, really, I think, and plus you still got that defense. As long as Fred Warner's on your defense, you're going to be okay. So, I mean, I think he's the best one. I think he's the best linebacker in the league, and I don't think it's close. So, I mean, I think what it comes down to it is like, do they have enough to get over the hump? Do you think? Do you have enough to get in that hump for them is Super Bowl? Do they have enough to win a Super Bowl this year?
Oh yeah.
You
I
think
think they
so?
lost enough, and yeah, I think they have enough.
All right, cool. When it comes to the NFC North, like I said, the Lions are here to stay. So, what is your prediction there? Do you think that they able? Do you think the Lions can turn kind of into a mini, what Green Bay has been for that division the last 15 years? Do you think it's the Lions' turn?
Yeah, it's the Lions' turn. They're here to stay. Nothing's gonna happen. Nobody's. I think Vikings have gotten worse because they lost their starting quarterback. I don't believe in Caleb Williams. Um, yeah, Detroit Lions are gonna stay. They're gonna probably maybe even better. That core that they have, the young core that they have. Yeah, I don't see them getting going anywhere. Packers might be better, or it might be worse a little bit.
Well, yeah, because I think
Like I said, I
Aaron
want to see.
Jones. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and even though he was hurt most of the year, it was just like I want to see Jordan Love prove it. Prove his contract. Make sure, like, let me see you're actually here to stay type of quarterback. Because at the end of the day, like I say, like it's easy to do it the first year when they don't have no film on you. It's hard to do it when they do have film on you and try to get it done. So
I mean, like it was like for me, it's like I felt like kind of Green Bay kind of came out of nowhere and made the playoffs last year.
yeah, the last five they went well. They were on a 3-win streak. To end the season.
Mhm.
So you got to think about they were 6-8 going into the last into December. So
I mean,
six and
yeah,
six.
that's tough to do, but also I think that kind of shows how I guess a little bit simpler it was to make the playoffs in the NFC last year. But them beating the shit out of the Cowboys, though, well, they should have. Looking around, like I was watching that game, I was at work. It was like you could hear a pin drop in my restaurant. It was wild. How many like everybody was just shocked at the way that they beat the crap out of them. But when it comes down to it, I mean, I don't think the Packers had much of a choice when it came to paying Jordan Love because of how much he's waited and them deciding to pick him when they did when they had another 3 years of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, his contract was about to be up, so you invest in this guy, you have to invest in him. So I don't. It's not. Of course, it's not going to be a similar situation to what happened with Miami and Tua. Miami and Tua, they literally watched as in they invested in him, yes, but they watched their investment kind of come back to them. So Jordan Love's always that's going to be an interesting thing because like the way that you treat quarterbacks, I think one because you have Tom Brady's comments about not throwing rookie quarterbacks to the wolves and all this other stuff, but that's going to be an interesting debate when it comes down to the nature versus nurture when it comes to quarterback position. It's like, is it better to put them out there as a rookie, let them get their lumps, or is it better for them to develop and get behind another quarterback and then come in. And when it comes to, I don't think there's a right way. I don't think there's a wrong way. I think it really depends on the player. So when it comes down to it, I mean, it is what it is. So when it comes down to it, I think the Lions are here to stay. I think they have the right coaching. I think they have the right attitude. I think they have the right hunger. I've been really impressed with them the last couple of years. It wasn't just last year with them either. I was really impressed with the way they were the year before. You know, they competed. They played hard for Campbell. And they're going to continue to do so. It just they needed more talent, they needed more players, and now they have that. So I think the NFC North is kind of going to be theirs for the taking for a while. While I do think that each team has their quarterback. I think again, when it comes down to it, JJ McCarthy is probably going to be the quarterback for the future for the Vikings, but he's hurt this year. That's going to be difficult. But you have Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson's going to be able to get 1,100 yards. Whoever's throwing the ball. So they're going to win some games because of that, in my opinion. But all right, we'll move on from that. Let's go to the NFC East. Now, the NFC East is a very interesting division, basically because the Eagles and the Cowboys, because they both at one point were the number one seeds, number two seeds last year, but ended up losing in the first round of playoffs in disappointing fashion. So, do either of them take a step forward, in your opinion, this year?
You saw my NFC East, right? I'm sorry.
In NFC East.
Okay.
So, do you think the Eagles or the Cowboys? Because, my opinion, the Redskins, it's a rebuilding year. You got Jaden Daniels coming off to it. And then, of course, the Giants lost their best player to the Eagles. So that's one thing, too. I think that the most underrated whatever move, Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles, I think kind of puts them over the hump a little bit, in my opinion. But what's your opinion on that?
I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles win the division this year. I feel like the Cowboys have gone worse, in my opinion.
I agree.
Since they have injuries on the defense already, that's gonna hurt them. I feel like the Eagles I feel like they got kind of cocky last year after their Super Bowl appearance, and kind of like
starting 10-1.
It affected them,
yeah.
and they waned off and they kind of tailed off in the end of the season. I feel like they'll resurge back. They'll be that juggernaut again. So much so I think they're going to get to the NFC Championship game. The Jets will be the last team in this division, and the Commanders will be
the Giants.
Giants. I'm sorry. And the Commanders will be third.
Right. So Cowboys is second. I agree with you. I think the Cowboys got worse. I don't think they really did anything, and also now you just have all this bickering when it comes to contracts at the moment too. When it comes to Micah, when it comes to
Jerry Jones being really disrespectful right now.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think I've said this to Cowboys fans ever since I moved to Texas, because I've lived in the Dallas area. I've lived in outskirts. I've lived here. Basically everywhere as Cowboys fans. The Cowboys will never win until they fire Jerry Jones as a GM, until he fires himself, which he's never going to do. So, I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, like the Cowboys, I think, have the ability to be something more, but they're just not going to. Like, I mean, I think they watched the Eagles get a lot better next year, and then I think also too. I think when you look at, there was a juke move that Saquon made in one of the preseason games, and you see the look on AJ Brown and Devontae Smith's faces when they made that move. They're like, "Boy, we about to do something." And I think he has to stay healthy, of course, but I think that makes a big difference. And also too, I think a sour taste. You get your butt whooped by the Buccaneers in the playoffs. You're like, okay, what's going on here? And look, we'll talk about this NFC South in a minute, but the Bucs, in my opinion, weren't really that good. But they were able to. I think they played good situational
division was
football.
shit. So
yeah, they played good situational football. But the Eagles are better than the Buccaneers. It's not a loss like that, not like that. But I think, of course, the offensive line is going to take a little bit of a step back. You when you lose a perennial All-Pro like Kelsey is going to, but I think if they're able to at least get someone who's 80% up to what he does, I think they'll be fine. So, yeah, I do think the Eagles take the NFC East, and I also think they play the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. So, let's get down to the NFC South. So, it's a mess. It's always going to be a mess, I feel. But you have teams with young quarterbacks who are looking to take steps forward. Do you think anyone can challenge Tampa Bay in that division?
Well, I think Atlanta wins it.
You think Atlanta wins it?
Yeah, I'm saying this for like I'm praying for my brothers, all my friends in Atlanta and my friends here, like for Atlanta to finally get over the hump,
Breakthrough.
break through, win the division, because they've been
Now,
suffering, man.
okay, so do you think it's because of Cousins coming over there? Or do you think Penix ends up playing and takes that
No,
division?
I think Penix sits a year and Cousins,
You think Cousins takes it?
until Cousins takes it, but I just feel like I like the energy of the new coach. He's very confident. He's more uplifting. He reminds me of Mike McDaniel, and I think he's very confident in his team. I feel like that will wash over to his team.
Well, okay, I have to. All right, I do like that pick. I think the Bucks take a step back, and I can kind of reverse a little bit more to the median. But I think there's a lot of consistency when it comes to the Bucks. Like Mike Evans, probably the most consistent receiver in the league. I think that's
Yeah,
how they were able to win last year. Um, I mean, the Saints are kind of just a mess, and I do think the Panthers get a little bit better. I think that Frank Reich was not the right coach for the Panthers. I think that's what ended up happening last year. But I think they found the right coach now. But yeah, I like Atlanta's talent. Atlanta is just the most talented team in this division, and I don't really think it's close. But I think when you have Bijan Robinson and you have that freak of a tight end in Kyle Pitts like that, I think you have to find a way to make that work. In my opinion, I think that if they're able to even get to 80% of their potential, they'll have the best offense in that division by far.
mm-hmm.
So, and Kirk Cousins usually knows how to at least get the ball to his playmakers. You know, not always, but I think he'll be a big boost to that team. And so I have to agree with you. I think that the Falcons overtake that step. Not thinking about it, analyzing it. I think they overtake the Bucks, and I think they win the division. So that's gonna be interesting to see Atlanta in there. So who are your wild card teams? You have 49ers, Lions, Eagles, and Falcons as your division winners. Who are your wild card teams?
Dallas,
All right.
the Rams, the Seahawks.
All right. Um, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Dallas doesn't make the playoffs. So I'm gonna go Rams, Seahawks. Hmm, it's a tough one. I'll say the Packers.
Okay,
I think the Packers. I
that's
think the
fair.
Packers sneak in again.
I might
But
be
yeah,
very very harsh on the 2 year on these sophomore quarterbacks, but it gets me mad to hear the media like bug up these rookie quarterbacks. They're going to be here to stay. Only and like they're better than a quarterback that's been here and showed improvement every year. Like, I mean, I'm as critical as the next person of Tua. I am, but it's just like he's proven to improve year over year. I don't get why that's not valued anymore. But that's just,
well, I think it's not sexy anymore to like kind of be that form. It's like he's just I guess to the media, I think like Tua is just not like the sexy quarterback to be behind. I think when he was playing for Alabama, it was more so it was I guess it was a little bit more to be behind him in the media because the media's always been Alabama's jock. But when it comes to the Dolphins and Miami, it's like they kind of fall by the wayside a little bit. I think that I don't. We can talk about the media bias against Miami for eons on this podcast. I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of fandom that we have in ourselves.
mhm.
But really, it's like I feel like we should be always the ones who are most critical of our team. But we don't really have to do that because the media is so much critical of our team. I mean, Louis Riddick is the only person at ESPN who really likes the Dolphins and speaks on them positively. I feel. And so, like, you hear Stephen A. Smith talk about them, they just squander every opportunity that ever happens.
He
But you
has no
obviously,
idea what he's talking
he
about.
never, he never watches any of the games. It's like, and that too, it's like, but for me, it is disappointing because I have to agree. It's like I feel like he has it improved every year. There were concerns about the concussions and everything like that. But even under Flores, where he, as in his own words, he wasn't flourishing mentally, he still improved in his second year underneath him. And Flores, no matter what anyone says, he has a winning record as a coach, but without Tua, he has a terrible record. Tua won most of his games as a head coach.
Mhm.
So, I think that you have to move on and kind of see it. But I think Tua is going to have to be the type of person to just let his play do his talking. And I think that part of that way he came into media this year, he's kind of done that. He's like some of the way that he's treated me. He's like, all right, I'm just going to let my play do the talking. I really care about what you think, and I like that. I like that in my quarterback. It's like you gotta let the haters fall off him. One thing though, I do think he needs to cut it out on the interceptions. But I do think that's going to happen because I don't think he's going to be targeting Tyreek Hill every play this year. So,
and when he came out and said, "Yeah, we're trying to get the 2,000," I was like, "Man, I knew it." It's like,
I mean, it wasn't a secret, but the thing is, when the season began, it was in line with when Tyreek got 100 yards and a touchdown. Miami won. When he didn't, they didn't. So I was cool with it when it was in line with them winning. But when they started to get hard, I'm like, okay, Jalen Waddle is just streaking down the field. Hit him. Like, for real. So, all right. When it comes down to it, do you foresee another? So you think it's the Ravens and 49ers again? But in the Super Bowl, do you think it's Ravens 49ers? Because I know you said you thought the Ravens were going to come through with AFC. Ravens and Eagles?
Okay. Yeah, we want all birds.
All birds this year. Ravens and Eagles. And who do you have taking it home? If you had to give a prediction right now.
I gotta go with the Eagles because they've been there before. Even though I want Lamar to go ahead and get that chip, but just for the crib, but nah, it's probably gonna be Eagles because they've been there before.
I think it's Chiefs and Eagles again. And I think the Eagles take it. I agree. The Eagles take it because I think Saquon is the difference.
Yeah.
In that. All right. So thank y'all for joining us for our NFL preview. This will be up probably next week. So y'all be seeing this when we say next week will probably be after the college football weekend, before the Thursday night game. So hopefully y'all enjoy it. For Jay,
probably Labor Day.
All right, Labor Day.
Tuesday. But
give y'all some time. All right. For Jay.
For Nick. No, what am I talking about?
we'll have our normal call. We'll have some of our normal calls on the next one. But for Jay, for Music Nerd, thank y'all so much. Enjoy our Labor Day weekend. Enjoy the college football weekend. Hopefully your team has won. Hopefully you was able to go down to the swamp and get a win, even though I did not predict that. And hopefully the Dolphins are able to do something this year. So we love y'all. We'll talk to y'all soon. Off with nice. Out.
Peace.